Hello, Content Alchemy world. We're talking about ringers. We're talking about production. And we're talking about Matt. How are you today, Matt?
I am well, thank you. That's my AI voice right there.
That was such like a little kid answer of like, I am well, thank you. I just learned I'm not supposed to say good.
It's funny, I use Grammarly like all the time, and every time I write like, I hope you're doing good or something, it's like, do you mean well? I'm like, no, I mean I talk like a person and I say good, even if it's not right. I don't know.
Grammarly stresses me out because like I don't know, my MFA is in screenwriting, so I'm like, okay, I know the rules. I know which rules to break, but Grammarly wants to tell me not to break those rules. And I'm like, shut up, Grammarly, we're gonna fight. I know I'm okay to use this dash here because I want to, and that's how I speak. I'm going to use the damn dash.
Right.
I am a boomer, okay? Let me use my dashes. And ellipses is fine. Okay, cool. Anyway, guys, if anybody wants to hear me talk about grammar, you can go to my other podcast. Shelby talks about grammar for too long. It's streaming everywhere. Okay. Today, we're talking about advertising strategies that don't work anymore. Now, I'm going to put a little note in here saying that these don't necessarily completely, not work anymore. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We've got a little list. This was inspired in parts by some articles that I was reading. Matt had mentioned kind of what would be a cool thing? Like, what doesn't work anymore? So I was doing some research into, okay, what are people saying doesn't work anymore? And I think this is interesting, partially because I come from a rural area, and I think that there's a lot of these tactics still being used successfully in more rural, local areas. But I think on a grand scope, in a more worldly space, these might be, going the way of the dodo. So let's chat about them. Number one, everyone's talking about blog posts and the fact that blog posts don't work anymore. As a writer, I'm sad. But personally, I think blog posts can still work if they've got a really good hook, you've got really innovative, interesting imagery, and if your SEO is off the charts. What do you think?
This is one of these things over the last 15 years, it's kind of like come and gone, right? Of like, oh, we're going to do blog posts and stuff. And I personally think blog posts work really well, but they just keep changing.
Yep.
In my eyes, anytime that somebody says that something that used to work doesn't work anymore, it's generally because, well, the rules just changed for how you have to do it. And some people are like, it just changed too much, and they just now chalk it up to it doesn't work.
Yep.
Now, also, all marketing teams have to choose a select few efforts that they do, right? They can't do everything. So maybe that's kind of the other part of it too, is that maybe blog posts have sort of like taken a little bit of a backseat to some of the other things that are working a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So what doesn't work, I feel like, in blog posts is, I mean, we talk about SEO. SEO is important, but I think that there's a lot of people that just overdo it with the SEO, and they don't think enough about just writing a good, solid post. And they're just obsessed with like the keywords or the key phrases that need to show up in it, and they just lose track of it, and it just ends up as mush.
Yep.
And for that, AI can definitely do that, right? Like, if you want AI to write a post that just has like all your keywords and stuff.
Yep.
But so I think it could still work. It just depends on how you go about writing it. And I feel like blog posts right now just need perspective. And it can't just be the kind of thing that you just, again, if you can just ask ChatGPT to give you an article, like, that's not enough. So the fight against AI is, well, you need a perspective here. You need to tell stories. Your blog post should link case studies and have actual data in it, I feel like. I mean, both quantitative and qualitative data, I guess is kind of what I'm saying here. I I will always think that visuals play an important role in everything. I guess another reason I feel like blog posts are important is because, well, two really weird reasons here. One, because when you take the time to write something, you become a little bit more of an expert in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I've written every single day for like 8 years at this point, 7, 8 years. And it's not always about proving how smart I am. It's never about that. It's really about trying to figure out what I need to learn, right? If I make a claim in a blog post, now what is the stuff that I need to research much heavier, right? Who is an expert in that field, and like what content do I want to consume to be able to learn what I feel like I need to be able to write that blog post, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is that I think blog posts are a great jumping off point of more content. Starting with a blog post, we'll say 600-700 words. When you write that much, there's more content to be pulled out of that. Whether that is video content about that thing. We see like Vox and a whole bunch of other organizations doing that kind of thing where they'll take a post and make a video on it. They're doing it for a reason, right? Well, it's easier now that you kind of have a script. You might as well just create the video for it. And also you get to test and measure how that performs against the blog post, right? Or maybe it turns into a carousel in Instagram or something like that, right? So I generally feel like starting with a blog post is just a great method of developing content in general. So
Something too that I think kind of in defense of the blog post as well, that I don't think it's going away, is the success of Substack. Substack, if you haven't been on there, is basically like a newsletter spot where it's a social platform, but people are able to write really long form pieces. Either maybe it is more of like a diary, maybe it is, well researched pieces, maybe it's opinion pieces. But it's blog style, right? And you get it in your email, you get an alert every time that something comes out, but you can also, post and comment, whatever. And it's really popular. I'm on Substack all the time. It's great. And I love reading Substack. And I think that again, it's the thing where things are changing. Maybe having just your individual website where somebody has to try and find you isn't exactly the thing that's going to work anymore. But there are new avenues for writers and for bloggers to be able to work in, and in areas like Substack, because there are these platforms that are really, really friendly to those types of work. But I love a good blog post. I like something that's well researched. I think the puff piece is going out the window, which I am just fine with. But it's people want real content.
Right. Yep, agree.
All right. Number 2, the cable TV commercial. Dun, dun, dun. Gotta be on streaming and on social media now. Oh dear. And commercials that used to work just don't perform the same in those environments. Matt, how do you feel about the cable TV commercial?
There used to be a saying in the advertising world of, when in doubt, create a TV spot. Because that was like the go-to method of being able to reach your audience. I will say, much like the blog post, this can work. Most of the commercials that I see right now on television, well, first of all, I don't even have cable, so there's that. But usually if I'm watching like football or any sporting event, that's the only time I see ads like that.
Yep.
And what I guess I would say is 90% of those are just a complete waste, because they treat it like it's the same. They treat it like people consume information the exact same as they did 10, 20 years ago.
Yep.
It's not enough to have this little brochure of like your business.
Mm-hmm.
Those are so incredibly boring. And usually the way that these people do it is like, okay, well, we'll have this like, we'll make this cheap commercial, but we'll just rely on repetition.
Yep.
And as their advertising strategy. And then it just annoys people to the point where they're like, you know what? I'm never going to go to this place just on principle. I can't, like, I think we've all said that at some point or another based on an ad that we've seen. Like, oh, you know what? Based on just how much they're showing this to me or just the annoyingness of this, I'm never shopping at this place.
Yep.
So I feel like, again, just like the blog post, if you have some sort of perspective and you also understand that television commercials are not a one-step sales funnel where people see it and they immediately buy. If you can treat it like something where you're like, okay, you know what? My goal is just to gain awareness.
Yep.
I think it can do very well still, especially on things like Hulu and other streaming platforms. Because at that point, now you can target people a little bit more based on what they're watching. So I definitely believe in that a lot more than cable commercials because they're just kind of, I mean, they can choose based on like the channel, but it's just different as opposed to like Hulu. That's, again, talking to you based on what you're watching in that moment.
Yep.
And social media, again, I mean, just you can do some pretty incredible targeting with social media. So TV commercials in general, I feel like, again, brands have to adapt for them to work. But I feel like they work a lot less than other methods might at this point. What do you think?
I think it's interesting because when I go, the only time I ever see like a TV commercial, right? Not a streaming commercial, not that kind of thing, is if I go to like my grandpa's house, right? And he's watching the news or somebody's watching sports or something, you know, similar in that vein. And I think that there's still a world that exists. Okay. If you're selling hearing aids, that's your audience,
Right.
man. That's what you should be doing. And I mean, if you're speaking especially to an older audience, I think it definitely still works. And I think that there's a certain sales pitch that still works in that. But if you're really trying to speak to, you know, a Gen X or younger audience, you have to be able to switch it up. And how you're speaking to them really, really matters. Because, you know, the car salesman in your face pitch isn't really what people are looking for anymore. They can see through it. You know, it's see through the bullshit.
Right.
They want to know what it actually is. There's a movie that Weird Al made in 1989 called UHF. UHF. Do you like UHF, Matt?
Oh, man, I used to love that movie.
Oh, I'm such a 14-year-old boy. I love that movie so much, man. I love Weird Al. I've seen him 3 times. I've met the man. He's a lovely person.
I'm sure.
Anyway, that's my info. He sang to me once. I'm
What?
cool. Anyway,
Damn,
yeah, I
that's
know.
pretty cool.
That's a story for another day.
Yep.
But that movie, I think every like modern marketing person should be watching that movie just because I think it's an interesting thing to study as it's such a specific piece of like 80s marketing, advertising, culture, which he was not setting out to make, but God, it's a wonderful little treasure trove. And that kind of ad is so niche and so specific. And I think it would work in a satirical piece now if you're really aware of it. But just speaking in that way, it's just not here for our modern audiences anymore. But I think there is a time and space for it, but you just need to have the right audience to make it work.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Number 3, saturated web ads. I have a lot of opinions on these, but these are advertisements on web pages. Usually they are all over the web page, cluttering the web page. Maybe the web page doesn't work because there's so many of them. And I am afraid that in this age of ad blockers, people aren't really seeing them anyway. Now, I don't use ad blockers because I want to know what's going on out there. But I am genuinely afraid to click on any link that is on any web page, even if it's from a reputable company. I am nervous. I don't know. It's not a thing that works for me personally. I think it would work in some spaces on the right websites in the right tone. But when it's just, let's just blast an ad all over a million different sites, just an overall buy, it's just not, you're missing the strategy in there, right? Of really being able to hone in on a specific audience.
Right. I mean, I guess the thesis for Made by Things over the last 10 years has been anti-web ads, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, yeah, we could do that stuff. We've been paid to do that kind of stuff before. But it becomes the kind of thing where I'm like, I'm generally looking at like, what has worked for me before? Because if something will never work on me specifically, I just don't want to do that. And I'll usually have that conversation with whoever, like, this kind of stuff doesn't work for me. We can do it, but I think there might be a better way. But I guess the thesis is work to become the content, not the thing in between somebody and their content, because you're going to be seen as an annoyance and not as a piece of content at that point, right? A useful piece of content anyway. There's just, again, like I think about it and I'm like, there hasn't been a single time my entire life that I've been on a website reading an article that I've looked over and seen an ad that I'm like, yup, I want to be distracted from this ad that I came here to look at. Yep. Or from this post that I came here to look at. And like, the only time that I have, it's been a complete accident. Especially if I'm scrolling on my phone and I'm like, what the hell? How did I get to this website? Yep. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that brands want people to feel the way that I feel about them whenever I accidentally click on their ad. So yeah, I personally, I don't think they work, if I'm being completely honest. I don't even think that there is a situation. I haven't seen a scenario where I'm like, yeah, this could work. I don't know. All the different banner ads, I don't know. Depending on, I guess, maybe like on Amazon, maybe like sometimes they do these full page banner ads. Like those are pretty cool sometimes.
But if you're shopping, right?
It's different, right?
If you're in a mindset of purchasing something, I think that's a little different than, I'm just trying to read this article about whether my dog should eat strawberries or not. Like that's two different mindsets.
That's a good point. Like if I'm just watching TV or if I'm browsing an article of some kind, a blog post, we'll say, and there's like all these ads about like strawberries, I'm gonna just be like, I'm not buying strawberries right now. Like, what are you doing? But if I'm at the grocery store and I see an ad for strawberries, it might work.
Yep.
Now I want some strawberries. Strawberry shortcake. I'm gonna try to do that today. Let's see if I can make that happen.
Do it. I wore my strawberry sweater yesterday. I should have worn it today. Oh, man. Anyway. All right. Number 4. Local newspapers and TV. Okay. Talked a little bit about the TV stuff, but local newspapers. Okay. The local ad. A lot of people say this doesn't work anymore. Okay, this is my opinion. I have lived in very, very rural America for a lot of my life. I'm still living adjacent to rural America. The newspaper ad works, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, shit, I find stuff in the local newspaper. I'm like, oh, cool. All right. I can get tires from you, my guy. I didn't know you were here. I'll get my tires from you. It works on me. And again, maybe it's because I'm a boomer. I don't know. But I think it's something, if you are a smaller company, if you're listening to this, if you don't maybe have a very big budget and you're able to do a good story in a small space that's eye-catching and interesting, I think there is a place for that. I think oftentimes too, and this is kind of a general perspective that I have, is I think we kind of get into the mindset that rural marketing doesn't exist. And I think that there is definitely a space for very, very rural marketing. Because we get into our heads of, okay, well, the money's in the big spaces. Well, there's, a lot of farmers. A lot of farmers got a lot of money, and they're looking in their local papers for farm machinery, for equipment. I mean, that's multi-million-dollar purchases. That isn't small stuff. There's an opportunity in those places if it's well thought out and well strategized and well managed.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of this idea where, like, I mean, sort of like we were talking about with blog posts, they go in and out kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where at the end of the day, it's kind of like about saturation.
Yep.
And if everybody's doing something and everybody switches over to doing something else, well, there might be an opportunity in going back to what used to work at that point.
Yeah.
We're seeing the same thing, and I don't know if you have it on your list here, but we see the same thing with direct mail.
Yeah.
Where it used to work, and then for a long time it just didn't work anymore, and now it can work, I guess, depending on how it's done. I usually still get mad about that, not to make this about direct mail, but the newspaper, I think, could be a really interesting canvas of, like, all right, you can do it. I would still recommend doing it a little bit more uniquely than anyone else ever really has before.
Yep.
But I can definitely see, like you said, I think it's about knowing where your audience is and being able to capture their attention. Not just deliver an ad, but capture their attention and have some kind of strategy for how you're going to push them along this little journey of theirs, right? But I think, honestly, like, local newspaper stuff, that could be, like, super fun.
I think so too.
Even if you brought a more technology standpoint to it, where it's like, what if it's like an AR?
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
Like how cool would that be? Newspapers should be doing that for sure. Of like,
make it jump off the pages.
Right, like people are still gonna find news on their phones, so it'd be really interesting if, like, they got this thing and then whether it, like, reads them the story. I mean, it could be a disability benefit thing. That's the wrong word to use, but, like, acknowledgement, I guess. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of different ways to kind of take something that is old and make it new again, I guess. It's maybe it's the millennial way of thrifting, and I don't know.
You know what? I 100% agree, though. And I think that there's a really big push among young people to go back to physical media. And I think we're going to see that in physical news, too. Because people, I mean, obviously there's a lot of news happening constantly. But sometimes you just want to be able to consume it in one big bite. And you can't do that on your phone because you're scrolling through a million different opinions all over the place. It's a lot, and it's just kind of bombarding you. So if you're able to pick up a newspaper and it's there and it's all in one spot, it's quite a bit easier. I don't know. I think there's a future in local news, and I don't know if anybody wants to talk to us about AR in news.
Let's do it.
We got you. Let's do it.
I would even throw magazines into this a little bit.
100%.
Because I think that's another one where certain magazines I still like. I'll look at the ads on some of that stuff. And most of them are sort of uninteresting, but it's the same deal where if you're going to do it, how are you going to stand out? And it's not by creating this really cluttered page in a magazine and tell people to go buy your thing. I think you got to be more creative than that right now.
I love a good glossy ad. I love picking up a newspaper and, you know what? Even if it's an expensive watch I can't afford, I appreciate the ad. It's nice. It's good to see.
Yep.
All right. We're going to get into Matt's mail issues because we're talking about cold email blasts, purchasing email lists, purchasing mail lists, just in general, addresses, everything else. Oftentimes for me, the emails go to spam. If it's an unfamiliar email, I'm not opening it because I'm a nervous person. So, I mean, honestly, for me, the mail almost works a little bit better for me because I know I'm not going to get a virus from it, but I'm still going to throw it away, you know? I mean, so it's, at the end, what is the waste? Matt, how do you feel about getting cold emails, cold mail?
It's interesting because this is one where I feel like we are in pursuit of trying to find the right way for us to even do this as a strategy.
Yep.
I do believe in the power of email. But it's another one of these things where when people can buy lists and they're just not really taking their time to create anything of meaning or of value,
Yep.
it leads me to doing the same thing where I'm unsubscribing from 5 things a day, which is incredible because you know how many things I subscribe to every day? Like none. So
Exactly.
how the hell am I unsubscribing from so many things, right?
Yep.
But there are a few email newsletters that I love. So Morning Brew is my absolute favorite. One of the first
Matt
things I
got
do.
me on there.
One of the first things I do every morning is just read through that, just understanding what's going on in the world, what things should I know, and there's ads in that, and I don't generally read them, but every so often you see that somebody manages to, some brands will put together an ad that I'm like, ooh, very, very perfect. Like on how they did it, like it just matches the theme of the article or of like the email. I don't know. I believe in stuff like that. So what I don't think works anymore is a long email about just how amazing you are as a brand or how amazing your products are. I don't think anyone really wants to do that anymore. There needs to be some kind of value in it for them. And everyone always thinks that value is education, and that's kind of it, you know? And I don't think that's it. I don't think that's the only way. It might not even be the best way anymore. The other newsletter that I get that I read religiously is from the fruit farm down the road from me.
Cute.
Because I like to know what they're growing and when it's going to be ready to pick.
Yep.
It's super weird, maybe, that those are my 2 favorites. But
it's fun.
They just, I don't know, like it's of interest to me, and they don't send me too many emails. Neither one of them do. And for whatever reason, I'm just very interested in what they have to say. I don't know. I guess it's just about interest, right? And if people are sending messages about like their latest sale and they have like 15 sales every day, like nobody wants that, you know?
Yeah. Well, when I get an email, I want to be able to feel connected to the person sending it to me. And even if it is a big email blast, I want to learn something about this person. I don't have to be necessarily educated, but I should be entertained. I should be understanding something about whoever is sending this. There's one of my favorite emails that I subscribe to. It's from a small studio. I met these guys at a film festival in Iowa. They're from Idaho. And they're like, guys, we just made like our first real feature. And they were, I followed their newsletter because every single month they'd post how they were getting closer and closer to distribution, what they were doing next, the next steps, what their next project is. That's just so fun. It's so fun to be able to watch someone grow. And it's, 1 email a month. It's very, very simple. So I think if you're doing something where it's personal, it's an email that somebody can look forward to seeing, and it's not just a sales pitch, that's a good email. I'll open that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Number 6, paid ads with no strategy. We talk about this a lot. Sometimes we're able to get information about where the videos that we go, how they perform. Sometimes we're not able to. So sometimes we don't always get to see the strategy, later on with how things are placed generally. But we know what they're looking for in the beginning when they're creating these ads. But just because we know, if you're a marketing team and you say, okay, well, we're trying to advertise towards this group of people, if you put that advertisement out without the strategy on social media, you might not reach those people. You're going to reach people that don't care about your thing, and you're going to waste money. My thing in here is you can't set a Facebook ad to people between the ages of 35 and 75 in your area. It needs to be specific. You need to know your audience. And I think that's just what it comes down to. If you're going to pay for ads, know your audience, know where it's going to go, and also know what platform is actually going to work for you, because they are not all equal.
Right. It's kind of one of these things where every single brand has to do their own testing.
Yep.
And see what works best. I will say that, I think we all generally know this at this point, but a lot of ad spend is completely wasted. Or it feels like it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's always, okay, if you're going to put the money into it, then you have to be ready to iterate on that thing pretty quickly and see what's working and what's not. So if you think that you're going to just make one set of ads and then push it out there and then we'll check it again in next month, you're going to lose a lot of money doing that.
Yep.
Like it needs a close eye on it, and you need to have creative on standby of like, all right, here's what we're going to do next, right? This is also coming from somebody that's, I've probably spent at least $1,000 and probably more on just different ads for different ideas that I've had over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made those mistakes too of like, okay, let's let Facebook try to decide what is going on here. And then I look and I see all the clicks that I got were from outside of the target audience. And I'm like, well, damn. So
Yep.
it's like, it's taking the time to really hone in on who it is that you're trying to speak to. Not just that, but we did this for me and my dad run a little company, little workshop called Ohio Workshop. Makes 3D printed goods, and well, that's about how it started anyway. Make a bunch of other stuff. But during the holidays, we try to run at least a few ads and just see like what products people might be more interested in. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the weirdest thing sometimes about like what people are actually buying, because we're like, oh, all right, I guess people are really into their dogs this year, so like we're just gonna do dog related stuff, and then like do a little dog related photo shoot of like the dog bowls that we have. Like it's things like that where if we weren't willing to iterate so quickly, it's just not going to work, right? Now, larger companies, they already know this, right? Smaller ones, maybe not as much. So that's speaking a little bit more towards the smaller brand audience.
I think, though, too, there's some larger companies that get afraid of iteration. I don't think that's something to fear. I think iteration is something to really embrace. But I also think that, failing and trying again is a really, really good thing. I think that, don't give up. You're going to find something that works. And that comes from iteration. You've just got to keep trying, and then you will find something that succeeds. And then eventually what's succeeding is going to start to change, and then you need to iterate again. And that's okay. It's growth. You're learning. That's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. So it's embracing the change, embracing, version 27. That's okay.
Right. Yeah, it's trying to get somewhere. I don't know. You may have the destination in mind, but it's going to take you on one hell of a journey when you're using paid ads, right?
Yeah.
But overall, obviously, paid ads with no strategy, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like you need much more thought. You can't just press the boost button on all these platforms at this point.
Yep.
It'll get you impressions, but it's not going to lead you anywhere. The other thing, I sort of talked about it with TV commercials, where it's people are trying to have their whole funnel relying on one single ad.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work anymore. So it's being able to gain awareness and just relying on an ad to just gain awareness. You're not trying to get them to buy it immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And things like retargeting. I mean, I'm no expert in this stuff, but retargeting, I think we all know at this point, is probably far more effective than the first ad that somebody sees. I think it's, I can't remember how many touch points people need to see before they buy something, but it's more than 4, I think. It's like 4 to 7 times or something. So it's like keeping that in mind of not trying to make the sale immediately, but trying to build that sort of relationship, right? So yeah, when you don't have a strategy, you're generally trying to make miracles happen, and not a good strategy at this point.
Agreed. All right. The last one is just plain low quality content. Okay. I'm going to say this with a note, but before I do that, right now you need really quality advertisement, right? You need to be able to get to a story. You need to get to something. You need to be able to draw your audience in. I mean, we talk about, attention spans. We disagree. I think that an attention span can definitely be longer than what we say. But if your ad's looking cheap, you might not get... The attention span is... Yeah, maybe it's true. Maybe we only have half a second.
Right.
But I will say, there is a way to be able to do budget branding, budget commercials, if you have a very good story, if you have a good creative team that's able to work and overcomes challenges, if you're able to be scrappy, there's ways to be able to do it. But you have to have a good story to rise above all of it.
Right. That's low quality content, right? It's very subjective.
Yep.
And there's tons of content that I think is great that uses an iPhone and maybe has some less than ideal audio. Yep. But like you said, the story needs to kind of make up for any of that stuff, right? And that's... we get to this point until we get into AI, but like this kind of what we're seeing right now, that brands that feel like they can just rely on AI content, is that it's actually quite low quality. Like, yeah, you did it and you did it for nothing, but you're sacrificing quality here. And like it may look amazing and may sound amazing, but there's not a good story there. It's confusing. There's just something about it, all of it, that just doesn't feel right. And when it
doesn't feel human.
Right. It doesn't feel human. And when we have many people, many brands that are creating this stuff, it's now low quality. So I heard something about how AI can help you get to the bar, but it's never going to help you get over the bar. Basically, as far as quality goes. Yep. And I'm like, that's a good way to put it, where I'm like, it's not I wouldn't say that nobody should use it. I think that it might be for some brands, for some people, but it's also understanding, is the goal to get over the bar, or are you just trying to do the bare minimum here? And quality content needs to have a higher quality right now. Low quality content is just being completely forgotten within seconds because there's just a huge saturation of that kind of stuff. So we've got to think quite differently at this point.
Well, and just because something looks pretty doesn't mean it's good too.
Right.
I think that's, a really big thing here is you don't have to, just because, we shot this on an Ari Alexa and it cost us, $1 million to make this. Okay, great. Awesome. Cool. Great job. There's no story to it. I don't care. I don't care about it. When I look at it, I don't remember it. Maybe I remember a pretty shot from it. Maybe I remember, you got a professional actor in it. Okay, great. There was no story though. There was nothing that connected me to it. And I think it's just that's important. And whether it be AI, whether it be something that's shot on an iPhone, whether it be something that costs $1 million to produce, it needs to have a story that can, override all of those things. I think a really good example of this, actually, of being able to do low quality content, and when I say low quality, again, subjective, but like aesthetically low quality, is Pine Sol. The cleaning. Okay. Pine Sol right now has done something really interesting. I don't know if you've seen any of their ads right now, Matt. On TikTok right now, I don't know if they just gave it over to their Gen Z intern or what the hell happened, but Pine Sol is basically just making these clip art looking weird ads with, like straight up, like they just took a Pine Sol bottle and are just moving it across the screen. Everyone go look this up, okay? It's great. And you just have like their intern or whomever's working at Pine Sol just singing in the background about Pine Sol. It is the weirdest thing in the world. It has millions of likes, millions of views, because it's just out there and weird. And I'm still remembering it. And when I'm going to the store, like I can smell the Pine Sol when I see it, Right. It's like, oh, okay, I kind of want some Pine Sol. It's so interesting that, especially right now, I think on TikTok and with younger audiences, they kind of do want to see kind of shittier looking content. But man, it has good story and it's funny and it's interesting. It's just interesting. And I think it's possible to do it, but you have to have somebody innovative on your team and somebody who's willing to make some scrappy stuff.
Yeah, this is incredible. This makes me want to have a shitty quality wing of Made by Things.
Literally, yeah. It's so funny. It's like it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's like it's so bad that it kind of went all the way around and became good again.
Yep. Yeah, everybody go look up the Pine Sol ads. They're awesome.
Yeah, this is cool. Nice.
Awesome. All right, friends, those are our advertising strategies that don't work anymore. But, in a little twist there, some of them still can. Wow. Look what we learned today. I have this kind of at the end of, is there nothing to learn from old strategies? I think there is a lot to learn from old strategies, and I think everything that is old becomes new again. And we're just going to see something probably just a bit more innovative as we move forward. Don't be afraid of the past, I think is my main thing. And, use it to your advantage. When everybody else is hopping on a trend, look at what's being ignored, because you might be able to kind of find the next innovative space for yourself.
Right. It's like Austin Kleon right here. Steal like an artist. Everything's a remix kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
Where nothing ever just stops working, right? It just, there's certain aspects of it that don't work as well anymore. But for me, I'm like, that's the most fun, like, creative ideas that I feel like I get are just like things from other industries or things that used to work really well that I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to like do something like this? Thinking about the physical world is always really fun to me. Especially of like, how do we get motion into the physical world and that kind of thing. But overall, it's we just have to be far more creative than we've ever had to be before. There's no playbook anymore. And while others would, sorry, the kids are, it's the witching hour, apparently. We're getting crazy. We're running from each other and probably gonna start fighting soon, so I'm gonna have to go here soon. But
nice.
I just think that everyone's going to have to be far more creative than they've ever had to be before. And some people may look at that as a bad thing, but I look at that as a really, really good thing that we kind of need right now in this industry, in our society. Yeah.
And just a little moment of inspiration, too, from storytelling history. Frankenstein was written in one crazy weekend. There had not been a creation myth, a new one, in thousands and thousands of years. And Mary Shelley did it in a weekend. You never know when the opportunity is going to come to create something completely new. So,
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Oh, I love Gene Wilder. Anyway. Everyone have a great week. Make some cool stuff. Do some cool advertising. And Until we see you in a couple of weeks, stay magical.
Bye.
Bye. Content Alchemy is presented by Made by Things. To learn more about us, check out madebythings.com. And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, send us a message at alchemy@madebythings.com.